Okay. I'm not really a biblical student, but I try to see if I can hook it up and pray Allah that I'm not losing my mind, you know. All right. Now we talked about the Spirit of God moving upon the face of the waters. Now if the Spirit of God was moving upon the face of the waters, where did these waters come from? Okay, and how can you have water without form? Because it says the earth was void and without form, right? And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Now, it says, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was what? Good. And God divided the light from the darkness. Now you pay attention to those words and remember the history. And God called the night, the light, day. And the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, let there be a firmament. You know, firmament is something solid, a material thing. And divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters that were above the firmament, as it was. And God called the firmament heavens, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. Now finally, and God called the dry land earth. In our teachings, brothers and sisters, the planet that we reside on now, called Earth, Terra Earth, was originally called Moon. Until the separation of that firmament, that part of the moon that became our satellite, was exploded away from the Earth. Then we became terrestrial Earth. And the moon is a tracking device and a sign of what happened 66 trillion years ago. So, that's one part. Now you'll notice when the moon was detonated, those of us who are scientists, okay? We remember, right? We were just there yesterday. That there was the use of an explosive device, which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said was 100% dynamite. Whatever that dynamite looked like. And this one scientist differed with the others because he wanted all of us to speak the same language. One dialect of that same language. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that's impossible because of altitude. So if you live in the south, you have a certain twang. If you live in the north, you have a certain dialect. If you live any place on the planet, you cannot make Asians all speak the same. The Spanish language is not all spoken with one dialect. The Cuban accent is quite different from the Mexican accent and the Spanish who live in Spain. So, why would that scientist become so focused on wanting to have all of the people speak the same language that he would have the power to be able to blow off a part of our planet that becomes the moon? So these are deep, searching questions that all of us have to study together to find the correct answer. But these numbers are the things that trigger the information and take us one step beyond in the teachings of the Nation of Islam. We have a very practical side too, because in Islam, we have to eat. We have to monitor our health.
Yes.
We have to take courses in manufacturing,
Yes.
to set up our own clothing factories, to produce our own basic needs,
That's right.
everything. But if you do not start out on the high spiritual base, you cannot create something new. So when you begin to move out and establish your economic base, what will you bring to that we haven't already experienced? Do you understand? Or what our slave masters have put before us as an example of their world. Can you imagine now, if we are fully groomed spiritually, get the vocational training, the high educational training and professional training, thinking on the base of the knowledge of self and the knowledge of God. Then we go to setting up our economic empire.
Right.
That's right.
It will be shaped and formed so differently from the mind of God than from the mind of Satan.
That's right.
That's for sure.
That's right.
So the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, is teaching us about ourselves if we can just remove the theological teachers that have guided us in an incorrect way.
Yes, ma'am.
We can go plummet the depth. And so when you start talking about the moon history, 66 trillion, and the sun coming into existence, and it was made by our fathers, it's like, where did they get that teaching from? And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it this way, when he began running up and down the East Coast, that many of the Noble Drew Ali followers and many of the Masonic orders, they would invite him to come and teach in their temples. And because they knew that he had a deep knowledge and wisdom that they had not heard before, based upon the ancient wisdom. And they would ask him to come and teach some of that, what they called it, Egyptian wisdom. That is true. We are born of the root of Egypt, but not Egypt, as I say, again, today. And we came even before what they call the dynastic period of Egypt. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I told you today was going to be opening up some secrets. I see everybody. So he said that the first pharaoh that we identify in Egyptian history called Menes or Narmer, that he was exiled out of Arabia and that he was sent to Egypt. And the unification, as you know, the whole story in this last 6,000 year period, the unification of the upper and lower Egypt took place. So scientists, this is what I'm trying to say, scientists from among the original people have been assigned to go into every part of the world in order to bring about a higher spiritual consciousness among all people and all nations throughout time. So you will hear, for example, Fuxi, oh wow, okay, and his wife, Nuku, I believe. They were the first pair, according to Chinese traditional history, that taught the arts of I Ching, okay? And then the first martial arts teacher to the Asian people came from Africa. Our scientists. Cochise, you've heard of that name?
Yes.
From Africa. He was a priest during the Heliopolis temple period and Memphis period. That there is this story given among the Greeks that who was the name of the man who had to go find the golden fleece? Jason and what is it? Aeronauts or astronauts? No. Okay. Argonaut. I knew that. And where did he have to go? He had to go up in the hills somewhere in Central Asia to find this this fleece, okay, golden fleece. Now, who has fleece? Who has fleece hair? We do. So they've been searching, you see, for the original people from whom they get the base for the continuation of their civilization. So this civilization is based upon the Greeks, is that right? And the Western European mind. But it was Egypt, or it was the Greeks. And where did the Greeks get the basis for their science and music and astronomy and everything? Egypt. They had to go and they had to sit under, like Pythagoras as a very good example, Aristotle, all of these names of the Greek philosophers, they got their knowledge base from the original man.